welcome to the UGO podcast. Travis!
Yeah,
It's
what?
good to have you back, buddy. We missed you last time.
It feels like it's been a while since I actually did a recording.
I know. It's been too long, in fact. That's why I went back and decided to, actually record some of these again. I am feeling better, by the way, considering what was on the last one as far as, medication and stuff I'm going through. Things are better now. Still not awesome, but there has been improvement, so that's great. And you know what? It also has been too long. It's been too long since we've talked to Les Weiler, the TV dude himself. Les, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Doing all the things.
You see, now, or should I call you Not Kyle, as my new favorite moniker was?
Yes.
You see, I love a good practical joke, especially when it's just so simple, which is what that on the TV dudes, Travis, they have like Patreon requests so you can suggest a subject for them to cover, and so someone came in as Not Kyle as one of their members and decided to make them watch a show that Kyle loves.
Okay.
So of course they all blame Kyle. They all are hounding him during the entire episode. I'm listening to it. I'm having a good time.
The more Kyle denies it, the more
Kyle denies it. The more he denies it, the more they're convinced that it's Kyle.
Well, yeah.
And of course, Les is one of these people that is ribbing Kyle as well. And it's all in good fun. It's all great. And then I listened to the Patreon.
I try not to lay it on too thick, but yeah, everybody it was great because Kyle's like, I didn't do it. I'm like,
and so I listened to the Patreon episode afterwards, and to my great pleasure, Les admits right at the front, like, I have something to admit, guys. I am not Kyle.
Aren't we all not Kyle?
We are.
I mean, in a way, other than the people named Kyle, we are all not Kyle.
Yeah, Nick, did you throw down on the Patreon to make us watch something?
Yes, Stand Against Evil, I think.
That's right. You threw down to make us watch. I think that's where the seed of the idea began. And I hate practical jokes because often they just suck. Like they're just
just in.
And so rarely are they like joyously fun. And Kyle has wanted us to watch Grand Tour for like a year at least. Like I'm sure he's wanted his whole life for us to watch Grand Tour, but like he's been talking about it for like a year. And it's one of those like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I was like, we should watch this. Somebody should throw down on the Patreon for this. Like, I'm going to call this part of Kyle's wedding present, like, belated, and just throw, like, this is going to cost me $20. Like, I know it's going to cost his Patreon level, because I really want to, like, I don't want to just go talk to the guys, like, hey, we should watch Grand Tour.
You're listening to the UGO podcast. And I hope y'all are ready.
Let's make a thing of it.
It's Trailer Talk.
And so, I threw down the $20, which required setting up an email address so that I could set up a Patreon account so that I could do this. And then it just, like, well, I might as well, like, what should I put as the fake? Like, I don't want to use my email, or Grant will know, and then he'll be like, what the hell?
Right, that's not funny.
What's great about any prank is the simplicity of it, I think. And I love the fact that throughout the episode, Kyle just gets more and more defensive. It's not me!
Like, thanks
and it's
for
just
making
really funny.
Like, we weren't super thrilled with Grant. Like, none of us are car nerds, and, like, we weren't super thrilled with, like, we watched the Grand Tour, which is not Top Gear. So whatever was great about this is not Top Gear. Like, is gone, really. Like, Grand Tour does not work for me, even in the limited amount that Top Gear did. And it didn't work for Grant or Randy. And so, like, as they kept getting, like, and thanks for making us watch a ton of this, Kyle. It wasn't me! And I'm just sitting there the whole... But, yeah, I'm terrible. I spoil every Christmas present. Like, I can't buy birthday presents and then see the person at all. Like, I just want them to open it right then. Like, I hate keeping gifts. So I was really amazed that I kept my mouth shut and sat next to Grant the whole time. He's like, I looked at you a bunch of times. Like, awesome. Can't believe I held my shit together.
I loved it. It brought a smile to me. It brightened my day. I loved it.
It was very fun. It was a lot more fun than just watching Grand Tour. It was worth the $20.
Yeah, I mean,
to make the whole thing.
I mean, you did have to watch Grand Tour in order to pull it off, but
worth it.
Right?
Totally worth it.
So
now I have a
we
Patriot
also
account that is definitely not Kyle Scott.
Yep. That you can return to and play with at any time. I like that.
Just keep that in your back pocket.
Yep, just got that Hotmail hanging out there.
So yeah, you also talked about Sex and Education on TV Dudes as well.
A few weeks ago. What'd you guys think?
Well, it's a show we just binge watched, and I want to talk about it, but a little bit later. But I greatly enjoyed it. Was my initial thoughts on it.
Very good.
We'll get into a more deep analysis, but I think it's actually one of the top tier of what Netflix has actually put out original series wise.
Yeah, I think it actually set a bar that harmed shows I watched right after it. Where you might have done better last week, buddy. Sorry.
Well, what Netflix has done for nostalgic horror that Stranger Things did, this is what the teenage sex comedy is now.
Yeah. We'll talk about some of the special stuff about it then. Awesome.
Right. That's what I loved about it. I'm like, oh man, it's like watching an 80s sex comedy, but without all the really, really problematic parts.
Like the rape and the sexism and
sure. You ever go back and watch Revenge of the Nerds lately?
No.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because it does not come off great.
No. Nobody comes off great in that one.
But yeah, also in the news, I don't know if you've got to talk about it on TV News or not, but did you hear that Arrow is canceled?
Supernatural is also ending. I think we're closing up shop. I think they're just planning on the apocalypse.
What are they going to...
The CW is closing, right?
What are they going to show? That's 99% of their stuff.
That's, when I saw Arrow go, I was like, okay, they're switching things up. I saw Supernatural go, I'm like, what is happening?
The death of
What's wrong? What's wrong?
I assume they've got to make room for the Supernatural reboot.
I mean, I guess, but is one of the actors sick? I legitimately thought that something must be wrong.
One of those two must be dead, right?
It's that show has been a fixture for so long that I think something an act of God happened.
I know
in order for
things
him to
have
make it
run
not
longer.
go on.
Like The Simpsons and South Park and stuff have been on longer. I think.
Oh sure,
but 15 years, man, it's a long time. I really do. I feel like Supernatural is this weird writer's room crucible of take these pieces and do something new. I said it last night. I was like, it's the Kobayashi Maru for genre writing. Solve a Supernatural episode at season 15. Go. But I also feel genuinely, I got to think Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki are just tired of being the actual role. They seem like they were really enjoying their lives, but I don't know. Maybe they just got to be tired of it because it's still got legs. I mean, it's still got fans and could run for another few years, I would think.
Sure, but I figured if you get tired of it, wouldn't you get tired of it at season
earlier?
10?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. I don't know.
They actually, from what I heard, they turned down roles to stay on Supernatural.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
they like it that much.
Apparently,
Wow.
it's a tight family of they love working together. I don't know if maybe Misha Collins wants out, or maybe somebody wants out that's a deal breaker of well then it's not, I don't want to have the band together anymore.
But I'm actually kind of sad that it's I'm sad that a show I don't watch is gone.
Well, I mean, even if it's not
all.
something I've actually watched some of it, but it's still been around for half of our lifetime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really genuinely think that in under 5 years, Padalecki and Ackles will throw their own money down as producers on a reboot.
Yeah.
And gender flip it.
Oh,
and
sure.
have it be the Winchester sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Or something. Yeah. I could see this show just started over, winning Super Mario Brothers,
And
just starting it over slightly flipped.
Castiel just gets a new body, and it's Castiel with 2 L's and an E on the end.
Right?
She's just the gender flip version.
Yeah.
But this time they make it gay. Actually gay.
Actually gay. No, I think it's kind of tradition to keep it wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I would honestly, Tilda Swinton's Gabriel from Constantine is still my pinnacle angel.
Oh, she would. Constantine is not as bad of a movie as I think it gets.
No, Peter
it's just not a very
devil, and it's just not Constantine.
Peter Stormare as the devil is fucking awesome. What a
white
great
suit
casting!
With the tarred feet was so good, but yeah, and then Swinton's weird androgynous all angels should be ace. I think it's great.
I love Tilda Swinton in that, but Peter Stormare shows up, and I'm like, where has this movie been? This is great. But yeah, I'm sad. Like I'm mixed to see like Arrow finally going down. I'm not sure if what that means for the rest of the superhero shows.
Yeah.
I think they're just making way for a dark Batwoman where it would have tipped the balance.
That's what I was thinking too, because that's what I was worried about Batwoman is like, well, Arrow's already on, and Arrow is already
a similar function.
It's already so Batman. It's so Batman of a show that like they've literally taken plots from Batman comics and used them on the show verbatim. Like,
I'm really hoping that instead of killing Supergirl in Crisis, they kill.
They kill Oliver. Well, that's what they said in the last crossover they did, is that he'd have to make a sacrifice in order to save those two.
Yeah,
that's
true.
And I think that his death would be like pretty meaningful to the show overall, since he's the one that started the whole thing.
Right.
Like he was the first superhero.
He's the most eldest statesman in this universe.
Yeah. No, I think they could work that into the story actually pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still watching the crossovers. I mean, I'm watching the show by show anymore, but I think the crossovers are still fun.
Because the crossovers are funny.
Lenny Luthor all grown up has been pretty fun, man. Like John Cryer as Lex is a trip.
Yeah, I haven't caught any of his season. I dropped off of Supergirl too, but this would be fun. Like Les actually showed Travis Overlord the other day, which was one we got to see at Fantastic Fest. Which I still like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Too. Yeah,
it wasn't actually quite what I expected.
No, because you like expect like more sci-fi horror Castle Wolfenstein stuff.
Yeah, it's much more like it's just a World War II story. It just happens to have zombies.
Yeah, like it's Man on a Mission movie before it's anything else.
I was gonna say it's a lot more man, and that's what we heard throughout Fantastic Fest was like, well, I liked it, but you have to like Man on a Mission stuff, which most people do, and it's fun. But if you weren't expecting that, and that's really not your jam, then this movie takes a minute to get going for you. After the
I think I would have
the initial what the hell scene. In the plan.
I think I would have still prefer like more of a Wolfenstein type feel, but this was good.
I think I got done with it and didn't feel like they had done everything in that genre. Like, cool, you can make another 5 of these in slight variants. We can do this.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, what else do they run to after D-Day? And there's still plenty of stuff to play with.
Yeah, I mean, like, if for every, you can have Dirty Dozen and then every other war movie variant, that came out as well. Like, I'm cool. Let's keep doing these. Like, giant Nazi crazy monster thing on a fun budget was really cool.
Saving Private Frankenstein.
No, you know what? Frankenstein monster could actually show up and be one of the members. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
The next one, we get a werewolf.
I'm trying to remember now, all the weird, talking about Constantine, all the weird Justice League Dark, Frankenstein, like Agent of Shade or whatever that was.
Sure.
I think it's Agents of Shade. I can't remember.
Well, I always love anything that like retcons like people fighting Nazis back in old timey times. Like I remember, like there's comics like where Wolverine does that, or even in Fables.
Yep.
Fables Bigby Wolf fights a Nazi version of Frankenstein at one point. It's a Frankenstein versus the Wolfman, and I just get a kick out of it every time. I don't know why I like that aesthetic.
So that's the only good use for Nazis is for telling funny stories.
Well, that's what they've always been such a great villain. Like, you can just...
Because no one cares.
Yeah, like, they're just fodder. Like, you can just mow through Nazis and, like, fuck them.
Like, what are you gonna do? Deface a Nazi?
Like, the swastikas on their chest might as well be made out of signs that just say, okay to kill. Like, they're immediately like, okay.
For sure.
There's two main, like... There's two things you can kill in a video game and not feel bad. Zombies and Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both inhuman.
Because they're all both inhuman monsters. And I'm glad I got to rewatch Overlord again, because I was like, maybe I was just liking that movie because of the con high. And
there is always that festival feel.
And I was seeing it with Les, and me and him were feeding off each other's energy because we were both into it. But then rewatching it again, I'm like, no, I still dig this movie. I like this.
It's a solid movie.
Also, I did want to, I don't want to talk about it for too long, but I did. Les, did you see Zack Snyder's comments on Batman?
I heard about it secondhand through Randy because his head exploded and made a loud noise we could hear across town.
I don't mean to keep talking about Zack Snyder. I know he's gone through a rough time, and plenty of people make bad movies.
He's had a dark year, man. But still, like, wow, do you
But-
wholesale not get the characters I loved as a child? And I can't believe
Yeah.
Warner Brothers was that deep into a development process with him at the helm and him so deep. Like, even with him gone, I know that the producers that are still there, this means that they deeply misunderstand what they have.
Yeah, well, it's like, I guess it's not the fact that, I guess I don't like that he didn't learn anything from that experience.
No, he took the exact opposite thing out of it.
Yeah.
Right, which is what auteurs do. And ever since he's been labeled as an auteur, I think that's what's been his main problem, is that no one can tell him what he's doing wrong anymore.
Isn't that word just an insult at this point?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, it means you have a style, and style is just things you do wrong consistently. Like,
Something you do wrong on purpose.
well,
Yeah.
look,
And whether or not people find it charming or not is whether or not it's still working for. Yeah.
yeah, and then Christopher Nolan had a similar thing where he was making Batman Begins, and he didn't want to include the grapple gun. So he's like, that's a little silly. I don't want to include it. I want to keep Batman more realistic. And he sat down with someone who knew Batman and was like, I think it was a writer or something, and he explained why the grapple gun was important to Batman and why it gives him a mystique of, like, you know, flying and sort
Where
of
does
like
he get these weird shit? Yeah.
like, and it's like, that's why, like, you know, when a villain starts like, whoa, how did he get up there? Where, like, and it gives him a sense of movement that's inhuman.
Right.
And so when he was explained to it like that, Nolan was like, oh, okay, so it's like
It's a mystique thing.
it's a mystique thing. So he worked it in to his own narrative because he understood that it was important.
Well,
So
it's not even that he understood it's important. He just really, like, it's not something you have to understand. It's something you have to accept.
sure, and it's that's for a grapple gun.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if a grapple gun didn't show up in a Batman movie, I guess not all of us would be pissed, you know.
Some people wouldn't even notice.
So,
Like-
yeah, a lot of people wouldn't even notice.
Superman's
But
entire role in Justice League is just so smirk on his face, like addle-brained evil. It's like, you don't understand what to do with Superman at all. And then to see that he even gets Batman wrong is like, I was just so weird.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the comments he made was, I believe, if you don't think if you don't think your heroes kill people, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
I don't want you in charge of
Oh,
my
if you go
superheroes
back and watch
anymore.
any of all the Batman movies, he kills people.
yeah. And it's like, okay, so that's not the problem here, is the fact that your heroes, Batman is not a reflection of your real life people that have let you down, Zack Snyder. He's not
Why
Dick,
won't Daddy love me?
he's not Dick Cheney no matter how much you try and code him to be. You know? Like,
Well, and I love that people
And-
kept posting the page from Superman versus the Elite, of like Superman looking at Manchester Black and like, no, I don't kill. That's the whole, like, I mean, that was Superman, but there's an equal, like, Batman moment, I think, from the animated series of like him sitting down with one of the I can't blank it on the villain's name, the wild card,
Royal Flush Gang?
Royal Flush Gang, where we've seen Batman have compassion and it not ruin Batman. Like, I'm not talking about like the Dietrich Bader, like, goofy, brave and bold Batman. Like, you know, you could still be Batman and like, you get why he's doing this. And it's not to murder people. It's what made Flashpoint so weirdly shocking when like Thomas Wayne pulls guns and is just a nut.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seeing Snyder just stand there and double down was like, man, please take a breath and go read these comics again. Read
Well,
a comic.
Yeah,
Well,
just
you
read
gotta-
any comic.
It's the same thing that Ang Lee did with Hulk or something. Like, you have to sit down and figure out, why do people like this character? Why is this character popular enough that he's getting a major movie made out of him? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, Batman is interesting not because he dresses up as a bat, not because he kicks
Has a
people
bunch
real
of
good.
super
But
gadgets.
it's not because he's super gadgets. It's because of his main moral conflict of, he accepts the responsibility of wanting to get justice, but he also respects the responsibility of the consequences of not killing his enemies. Every time he does not kill the Joker and takes him to Arkham, he accepts the responsibility of every death Joker will incur later.
Right.
But he recognizes that if he kills him, then he's a villain too. And thereby is the constant back and forth struggle of morality and justice.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because like Superman doesn't kill people because he's a genuinely good person. Batman doesn't kill people because he's psychotic.
Yeah, it's kind of like it. So, and you know, I will even go on a limb. You can make a Batman that kills.
Well, like I said, every villain, almost every Batman movie there has been, he's killed someone. Whether it's been on, like, obviously shown on screen or not, he's killed someone.
Well, I could even buy in Dawn of Justice if it was like he got his moral like no kill policy from Superman. It's like, oh, this pansy, he doesn't kill anybody. But then by the end of that movie, he respects Superman so much he changes his whole way of doing things. But there's two problems with that in that movie. Is that one, Superman is also a murderer in that universe.
Yep, straight up.
Yeah.
And two, after he reconciles with Superman and says that he changed my ways, he murders someone with a flamethrower. Mm-hmm. Like, or he shoots someone's flamethrower until it explodes and kills them.
Same difference.
Whatever difference.
He still killed them.
He uses a gun to kill someone, basically. So it's like, it doesn't work on the narrative level. Mm-hmm. And I think Zack Snyder is a cinematographer that convinced himself he's a director.
He's not.
And it's...
Spoiler alert.
And it's just like, you gotta like, understand if you're gonna change something, change it to further something in the story or to make something more interesting, not to make it cooler or what your reflection of reality is.
Well, and if it's too difficult for you to tease out how to write these stories in a way where these people aren't psychotic murderers, stay away from like thematic archetype characters that are like weird cultural moral touchstones. Like, go write something else, but I don't want to see people turn Batman into a snarling, drooling nut job who kills. I don't want to see Superman give up and snap somebody's neck because he can't figure it out. I don't want to see I don't want to watch a Star Trek show that just proves how the Federation's unworkable, naive shit. Like, your job on those kinds of properties is to show me how an all-powerful God finds humility every day. I need you to show me how a man tortured by his parents who wants every criminal on earth dead finds a way to rein it in every night. How do
they accept the responsibility and deal with the massive power they both have in that situation?
Because that's also kind of I kind of want to watch fucking Death Wish.
Yeah, and that's why watching them fight, it would be interesting because they are two extremes of a different side of the coin. Like, their ideologies are similar, yet different enough to have them have a cross of how they do things.
Interesting. Both of them understanding that they both have a moral compass and an ethical code, but they've come about it from two vastly different, like, that's the kind of dichotomy and like butting heads I would have loved to have seen of like, you're a crazy person. Well, no, I also don't kill people either, but not because of that. I have a respect for oh, well, I don't kill people because like murder's wrong. Like, well, whatever. We ended up in the same spot.
Right. Like, and also, like, just for Snyder, shockingly enough, not everyone goes to a movie because they're realistic. I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
in realism, that's what I never in slow motion like that. An extra hour of slow-mo in every one of his movies ever since 300. It's insane.
Well, that's what I've always known this ever since I like his version of Watchmen, which is such a translation from. It's weird because it's such a translation from page to film, and yet tonally all wrong.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, it's actually almost impressive.
Well, it's like I want to go back to Snyder. I'm like, okay, Snyder, you do get that Rorschach is a piece of shit, right? That we're not supposed to like him or find him cool? That he's a sexually stunted, homophobic asshole?
I really don't think he does.
No, I don't think he did. I think he wanted to make him Batman, and now that I understand what he thinks of Batman, it makes way more sense.
Well, that's why he changes Rorschach's death in that movie to a sad, tragic moment, and I'm like, no, at least that's not how I took it when I read the comic. When I read the comic, I'm like, good, you fucking asshole. That's what you get for your fucking, unbent, whatever moral code you think is right with the world.
I won't keep this one white lie that'll keep the world together. Like, you're just being
honesty in the face of annihilation. Fuck you.
I'd rather you lie, please. Yes.
Like, And I think he didn't get that is that while Watchmen is a deconstruction of superheroes, it's also a kind of a parody of superheroes.
Right.
That they're all superheroes but assholes. Like, Dr. Manhattan is Superman if he was a disconnected jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. Oh, I guess he did do that in Superman, Batman, Dawn of Justice.
Yep. He basically remade Watchmen.
Like, oh man, here I said I didn't want to talk about it for very long, and here I am kicking him in the dick for a good 30 minutes.
We can't be succinct on anything, let's face it.
Right. But I just thought, like, you know, I think it's cool that, like, you know, when I see people like Jordan Peele, where he had the movie Get Out, and before it hit theaters, like, you know, Trump was elected president, and he decided, like, oh, I should really change the ending of my movie, which originally ends with our main character getting shot by the cops or being arrested by the cops. There was 2 different endings. And he thought, like, ooh, that's a little dark for the audience that is going to go see this right now. I should change this to something.
The world is already too shitty.
That's a little more upbeat. He recognized that
in the world we live in, that's what I thought was about to happen, and I was shocked when his friend pulled up.
Right, and it's like, and we all go, yay, because we're all excited that his friend pulled up, like, oh, thank God,
TSA.
and we all get that relief, and so it's the first time anyone's been glad to see a TSA agent,
Right.
and so what Jordan Peele recognized that, okay, my original thought for this movie, my original vision, doesn't really work with the timing and what the audience really wants right now.
Yeah, the world changed a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't make, like, a Suicide Girls slow motion porn fantasy.
Oh boy, don't even got me. If you get me started on Sucker Punch, we'll be here all day.
Actually.
Like, I fucking hate that fucking movie.
Who are we going to talk about?
God, I still remember, like, we knew one guy that said he really liked that movie, and Nick just looked at him like he kicked him.
I yelled at him for a good 10 minutes. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was really rude to that man. But I had just saw it, and I was very mad. I was not in a good state of mind. But, yeah, and speaking of stuff that we did watch that was good, I think it's about time we talk about Sex Education.
Okay.
So
clearly this is not an American show because it's Sex Education.
It
sure.
exists on some kind of, like, Genosha mutant out of time bubble
Where
island.
are they?
They are nowhere and everywhere and anytime.
Where
and
are
no
they
time.
that's so progressive and yet kind of conservative?
Well, they are clearly in England. I cannot figure out how anyone gets around except by foot, but everybody can walk everywhere except for the party scene, which required a blocked-in car.
Isn't that weird that they walk everywhere? I've noticed that too.
Like, they are in Wales or somewhere. They've got to be. Like, they walk everywhere, but yet they're wearing, like when I looked online, fans of the show in England, like, after like 2 or 3 episodes, I had a moment of like, oh wait, I adore this. I should maybe check online and see if, like, is this universally despised before I get super fucking excited and go tell the world and get, like, dirty looks. And I there were a lot of people whose heads just exploded on the, like, you can't quite place the time. Like, they've got cell phones, but yet the style seems very Ferris Bueller into the 90s-ish.
Oh, sure. The main jock character that we run into has one of those leather jackets right from, like, the 80s.
Well, and
it's like they don't wear leather jackets like that anymore.
And no school in England wears them. Like, apparently that was one of the big things. Like, there were a lot of British fans that were like, no schools have those. Like, that's not a thing we do. We don't do leather jackets. And I was like, I never considered that.
That's such an American 80s thing.
Yeah, totally. But they do, he's wearing his leather jacket for the swim team, and he's head boy. And that's definitely a British boarding school or British private schoolish kind of thing. We don't do that in the States that I'm aware of.
Is that like school president? I don't get how that works. He like can write
it seems like the trustee. It seems like
it's like
teachers
prefects in Hogwarts.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for putting in Hogwarts terms.
Now
I actually totally
that's what I'm here
very,
for.
Very Brit. I don't know. I loved it. It allowed it to just float in this kind of outside of some of those concerns magic place where they could just then go headlong into character stuff and issues.
It may exist in the same universe as Gotham. We're not sure.
Yeah, it really freed it up for me though. Like, and it let it. You nailed it with the nostalgia horror that Netflix got so good at. Like, this nails it for rom-com teen like sex comedy in a way that I didn't think you could do in 2019. Honestly, like I didn't think you could pull this off without it being god awful, like bad rapey awful, and instead like it's just amazing. Like later in the series, his discussion with the kid about like I don't care if you love her, you've never actually spoken to her, you have to let's talk about consent. And the kid sits there and is like. He basically does the like what would have been cute when I was in high school, but like the Dumb and Dumber joke of like 1,000,000 to 1 shot. So you're saying there's a chance, like no psycho, and he takes a deep breath and like Asa Butterfield's like, okay, we're just gonna start again. Consent, and like he just patiently keeps re-explaining consent to this like
for sure, because he actually acts like a real therapist. Like he doesn't condescend to him or call him an idiot. He just calmly repeats exactly what he needs to hear. Like, no, that's not right.
You just don't get it.
Yes.
Yeah, like Gillian Anderson doing her best Emma Thompson was absolutely wonderful as the mom, and Emma Mackey that plays Maeve was great. Ncuti Gatwa is who played Eric, the best friend. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we have to stop and talk separately about how magnificent that character was, that he was not the black best friend. He is not Bagger Vance's magic black man. He is not gay best friend. He is his own character that gets outright mad at Otis at points and has his own full separate, whatever the Bechdel test is for that, subplot. Also, him showing up at prom in that outfit was badass.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And his whole relationship with the father and the family, like it just doesn't go quite in the trope I thought it was going to go in. They don't.
Well, you think like, okay, his dad looks like he's really disapproving, but then throughout the series, he starts to say little stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think they might go in a different direction.
Really just wants
his dad was probably the one that actually got the most character growth in this show.
It's like you think his dad disapproves because, you know, they have classic Telltale stuff. He's from a big family. He's religious.
He's like the only boy.
He's the only dude in it. Like, and he's like, but really when it comes down to it later is like, oh, you're really scared for your son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
and
you're
you know,
just scared. You're just scared at how much harder this is going to make his life. Yeah.
It's like, and it showed like he wasn't ashamed of him. He was scared shitless.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to deal with it. And like, and then when he says, what does he say? Like, maybe I'm learning to be brave like my son. And I was like,
seriously, this is one of like 50 different facets of it. I mean, every episode has some tiny subplot where someone is asking like the most heartfelt, true Dr. Drew love line, like, oh yeah, that's a problem that nobody knows how to ask about. Like the kind of places that like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend veers off into where you're like, oh wow, I didn't even know sitcoms could address this. Holy shit. Much less address it well. To? Yeah. And,
well, that's
and do it well.
What I love about this story is like I love like the dad storylines lately have been really getting to me. Like you can't do a dad storyline like this and not have me cry, which was like in Sense8 when what's her name? Soon?
Oh yeah, with her
and
brother
she's
and her dad
dealing with her dad, and he comes into the prison and he's like, "I'm sorry, I thought your wife or you know, my wife was the most important thing. Your mother was the best part of me, and I thought when she died, it went with her, but I was wrong. The best part of me is here in this room." And I was like, I can't hear lines like that.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's true when
dusty
like
movie.
Well, here in Sex Education, where it's just like it's like you're going to prom, and he's like wearing like full drag and everything. It's like, wait, I'll drive you.
Yeah,
like yay.
There's just moments where you want to like pump your fist in the air.
Yeah, he's scared he'll get hurt again. Like he got beat up the previous time. Like it doesn't stop him. He just, well, I'll drive you because it addresses his real concern that he'll be hurt. Not that he'll be ashamed or embarrassed by showing up to prom in that outfit, just that he'll be harmed if he walks.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of love that.
I like that. I like that it did not go the stereotypical way.
Did you catch from I assume you've watched all of it. You've been watched straight through, right?
Yes.
You spoil the shit out of this.
We're going to do light spoilers for those listening too. There's light stuff. We won't go into huge stuff, but like light spoilers for characters.
Catch the kind of twist relationship?
Oh, with the bully?
Yes.
I mean, twist is a strong way.
Well, look,
yeah.
okay, I'll
'Cause,
tell you
like,
what.
honestly, I had that
At first, I
marked
clocked
from
it
the-
early because the
Yeah.
first episode, the first sex problem they deal with is a guy who can't ejaculate. He actually fakes it with his girlfriend, and he's picking on the gay kid at school. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he's totally gay.
From
Like,
their,
that's why
from
he
their
can't
like
get it.
lean close bully moment at the start of the series, I was like, y'all are gonna fall in love. If this is that kind of show, like if 2 or 3 other plot lines prove me right on what the tone of this show is, y'all are gonna fall in love. And
But they threw me off, though. They threw me off with him actually getting over his problem, like rewriting his narrative, as you will, as he flashes
I
the
did
whole
not-
school.
Yeah, like, well, you're a
And I was like, "Oh
criminal
shit! I
now.
guess I was wrong." And it totally threw me off the scent for the rest of the show. And I actually didn't see it coming for later. And I was like, "Oh,
yeah, I
okay."
still saw it. I was waiting for it pretty much the whole time.
I had a
No,
moment
they
of like,
they
we're
managed to throw me
definitely-
off.
We're definitely not in the States because you are now a registered sex criminal for flashing
Yeah,
yourself in front of
it's like, hey, your advice didn't work. And I'm like, I don't think he ever told you to flash the
Definitely
entire
did
school.
not take
Yeah.
any advice from him. What the shit? Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like, no, man, you can't blame this one on me, dude.
I don't think you could pin that one on me.
Hmm.
You know who
Yeah.
else I liked? The girl he was dating. What's her name?
Oh man, that
The
finally.
handyman's daughter?
No, the bully was dating. Amy?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Was it Amy or something?
Yeah,
It's actually played by Amy Lou Wood. She actually turned out to, like, she starts off as like a shallow kind of, valley girl, like.
she ends up being absolutely
Well, she's always like,
brilliant.
she's friends with Maeve, but since Maeve is an outcast, she has to hide that.
She has to hide it or whatever. She actually gets really good stuff in the show for
From
a
the
side
moment that
character.
she decides, fuck it, I like being with, I like hanging out with Maeve, and this is who I am. And then a couple more episodes go on with me like, all right, you're pretty cool, you're all right. And it's like early season Cordelia on Buffy, where you're like,
yeah.
I don't hate you, you're almost Scooby Gang. And then she discovers herself,
Sure.
and shit goes off the rails for her character. Like, from that point forward, she is like this sage speaker of truth, of like, nah, treat yourself. Like, she is,
Yeah.
she just walks through every scene of like, you got to do you, like, to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, she's like Roger Sterling in Mad Men after he does acid.
No, I love, like, he's just like, she's a slattern. Yeah. But
So
so am
am
I. They walk off like, hey, I'm not a slatter,
Like, no,
yeah,
but
but it didn't sound as good.
baller
Like,
line,
it was
though.
a good exit line.
Yeah,
Like, I wanted
yeah.
to leave on the good line.
It's a
Good
very
line. It's
Peralta
and you gotta
moment
give
of,
it to her.
like-
That's a stronger line.
Oh,
Like-
yeah. It's a very Peralta moment. Like, but that's what we got to walk out on. Let's do it.
Like, it doesn't matter if it really makes sense. It just sounds
Yeah,
real
no,
good.
it-
Like, it sounds good. Like,
It's an emotional thing. That's all that matters. Well, also, can we talk about the mother for a minute? 'Cause-
wow, Gillian
Oh,
Anderson is
man.
awesome in this. Like, she is so good because you think, like, okay, she's they're distant and he doesn't really trust her because he doesn't like talking about sex stuff with his mom. But
Who's
really,
a sex therapist.
well, really, it's actually deeper than that. He actually doesn't trust her.
For
And that
good
that-
reason.
That lack of trust is proven throughout the season.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
She's awful.
she's terrible. Like, she keeps doing awful things, like, sneak into his room, snooping on him, inventing reasons to go check on him at a party. Like,
You forgot your inhaler. I haven't had an asthma attack for 6 years. But what if you did?
what if you did? Like, for a therapist of any sort, her lying is weak. Like, her...
Like, she needs to go see a therapist.
And, I loved her relationship with the handyman, her Norwegian handyman, or Sweden? Was he Swedish?
Don't know.
He had an accent. I don't remember. But I liked how that relationship developed and how he basically called her on her bullshit. And like, I love that where she gives the condescending, like,
Her Sherlock Holmes rundown of him?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And how it was so wrong.
It's
Dead
like,
on
well,
wrong
you're
at
right. I'm a
every
little
turn.
reckless at times. But my wife died. And just like,
Yeah. And it's like,
rate of commitment. You've never
ooh.
had a relationship longer. Like, okay. Yeah.
And he let her hang him.
Yeah.
He let her hang herself.
and just like, you done? You done?
Yeah.
Okay.
When
I'm
he
gonna shoot
won't
you
come
out now.
fix something for her and just flat tells her on the phone, and like, she's not faking, it's genuinely broke, but like, he won't, like, no, I've
she's
told you flat out,
she's-
I'm not your handyman. I
I'm
want to
not
be your
gonna fix your
boyfriend.
plumbing again.
Yeah.
she's the girl who cried broken sink too many times. Like, no.
And her constantly breaking through Otis's lock on his door when it's the handyman's daughter, I think, that finally puts the lock on there.
Installs the lock.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's
Which I
always
thought was
women
real
carrying.
cute.
Yeah, there's just wonderful arcs of like Otis learning to find his own agency, like even brought out in allowing himself to masturbate, but even throughout the show, like half of his breakthroughs still aren't breakthroughs because they're still him looking to another person in his life, either his best friend or a woman, or his mom or the handyman's daughter, to give him agency, like, or Maeve, like looking to them to give him power and let him be free instead of just being himself.
What I love about Otis is what most people don't get right about writing teenagers. Otis is he's very good with people because he can recognize other people's problems and shit, but he cannot self-reflect.
Right.
And neither can his mom.
And neither can his mom, and he is self-absorbed. Like, but in the way a teenager is. Mm-hmm. Everything in his life is all about him melting down. Like, his new thing with Maeve and like how all that's working, and he leaves his best friend behind,
yep.
but like, and it's everything is like self-centered around him, but like in a realistic way. He's not an unbelievable dick about it. Like it just shit gets away from him, you know?
As things happen, especially when you're
after that fight, I love that fight too, because after that fight, he doesn't do the whole, boombox thing or like try and make a big gesture to say sorry to his friend. He recognizes he needs time. He's not ready to forgive me yet. Mm-hmm. Like, and he just like, no, he's not ready yet. When he's ready, I'll he'll come around and I'll have the chance to apologize. And maybe he won't ever be ready, and that's okay too. And I was like, wow, okay, that's real. There's just some of these things in this show that I've never seen another movie do. Or another TV show.
Just be honest about some of these things. It's so impressive. Like even the small things that aren't. I mean, the most of the time the sex problems each episode become the B or C plot. But but even when the problem that the kid is coming to him about is not directly his problem, it's still solved in the most like smart, compassionate. Where I'm like, all right, if this show still sucked, thank you for putting this. If this were just a PSA, thank you for putting this out there. Mm-hmm. Because people should know about these things happen. That happens to everybody. This is a thing for everybody. Here's how to deal with it.
Yeah, I love how he makes a good living off of sex therapy in this show too, because everyone is fucking in this school.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
One of the first scenes you see like people fucking.
The amount of sex, like, is it just me and my American sensibilities, or are they having an obscene amount of sex at this high school?
Not only did I not get laid like that in high school, I did not get laid on campus, like in the science labs and stuff. Like, what is going on? Like this thing.
It was
really,
weird how they could find places where people weren't fucking. It was.
Like, how do you manage to have a class? Like, how is everybody not narked on this? It's just insane. So yeah, they need a sex therapist because this is the most like it feels out of time. It feels like a 70s or 80s.
Or there's something in the water.
Yeah.
Like
but it feels like up the river or up the creek or whatever, like, or Animal House or any of the Caddyshack. Like it feels like one of those like kind of puerile teen comedies, only it's aggressively well done. In terms of consent and respect and really giving decent advice. I don't know. It has an earnest sweetness that I kind of got off of. It's not funny. I mean, it's not the same kind of satire or whatever parody as as a Wet Hot American Summer, but it has the same earnest sweetness.
Yeah, like I like when it's sweet. I really like when it's funny, but also it gets really dark sometimes.
Yeah, it deals with some real shit.
Like it doesn't shy away from some there's the whole episode of a character getting an abortion.
Yep.
That they don't really pull any punches on too, but they portray it in a realistic sense. Mm-hmm. Like, and how it's like, scary, but like, and then, there's the judgment from the people outside.
The abortion people outside. Like, you're killing the fetuses and the babies.
And it was like, even after Otis befriends them, like, are you going to still yell at my friend? Yeah, probably.
Yep, probably.
Like, come on.
Oh god, I forgot about their whole thing. Yeah.
It's like, you can't do me this one solid. Come on, I helped you guys out.
Did y'all ever see the movie with Anton Yelchin, Charlie Bartlett?
Oh, is that the drug one?
Yep, it's where he's dealing off his farm, like his antidepressants, basically. And then that stops, but the kids still keep showing up to the stall next to him, but he's like, I don't have anything. Like, I kind of got more out of the talking than the pills, dude. And so, like, it turns into like a psych confessional booth kind of thing where he ends up basically being the therapist for his high school. And other than that similarity, like high school therapist kid, that's basically where the similarity ends. But this kind of reminded me of that, of like, that's cool. I don't know why there kind of aren't a little bit more of these. Like, this is clearly like a believable deep need.
Well, I'm not sure I'm not a sex therapist, but like a lot of the advice that he gives, like a lot of the like wisdom that he imparts sounds pretty true.
I mean, it just sounds like good advice.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, I'm sure there's that half of it too, but like, it sounds like something, for when he talks, it sounds like something I would hear in a therapy session.
I feel like they did
what I mean?
some homework on, like, I had a sense of trust with this show. Like, I really kind of felt like there was a weird sense that they had done at least some level of homework on. Cause
I feel like the show, like, it really realizes that he's also talking to that character, but I think the show also realizes that they also could be talking to anyone in the audience with a similar problem.
I think
they run through a gambit of problems.
I kind of appreciate the queer-eyedness of, like, yeah, they're cleaning their apartment, but they're also kind of talking to you. Like, this show kind of also reminded me, I think, in terms of quality and surprisingly well-written teens, with Into the Fucking World. Where I was just like, okay, this is just fantastic. I want to watch all of this right now. And I feel like I might have given Pen 15 a better shot if I had not watched it immediately after Sex Education. Because the difference in tone was jarring, and the age gimmick was, and I started Pen 15 and was like, no, I'd just rather rewatch Sex Ed. Like, I don't want to change tone. I want to stay in that world, and I just wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
So like every character kind of like grows and learns a lesson as a person in the show, except for one, because apparently he's just perfect from the get-go. That's Jackson.
Jackson. I love Jackson.
Jackson's amazing.
Jackson kind of, he's the swim team boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that he kind of has to get from the rougher side of the tracks kids like Maeve and stuff of like, oh, I'm sorry, is your mom annoying because she loves you too much?
Oh, totally checks him on it.
Like, I loved the, like, I would kill for an adult to give a shit where I am right now. And that is it's a true weird thing. But, like, I kind of, even that there's usually one character that their arc is whiny and annoying and I want to slap him. And I thought Jackson was going to be that character, but I still felt
so
for
did
him.
I.
When he, I never got past there was a moment where he wakes up at Maeve's and I was like, this is one too far, man. You've got to please snap out of this. But it never hit are we going to grind this on for another 2 episodes of Jackson being an idiot? And like, it never quite went that far. Like, especially his turn on his arc of kind of what he tries to do for her. And then everybody kind of learning a lesson about, not really needing you to save me and shit. I know the show's just freaking brilliant. I want to sit and rewatch it now.
What I love about Jackson is he's got that confidence and likability and chemistry with people that only comes from someone that's super handsome, good looking, and funny, which is just like, you kind of like hate that they're them, but also they're so legitimately charming. Like, and when he's like, you want to come meet my parents? And it's like, well, maybe. Okay, I'll pick you up at 7. Like, I said maybe. I'll see you at 7. And it's like, why is that cute? Why is that adorable?
Well, it's also just how Maeve acts too.
I love that.
Well, actually,
they didn't have. I love that they didn't have like the blandest white bread dude, because that's the trope of who that character. I mean, Jackson should have been the blandest white dude.
Oh, sure.
Ever, and instead to cast just a young, good-looking black dude and not make it a. I mean, it was a little like seeing Denzel Washington in. Oh God, the Brenna Shakespeare. It wasn't much ado. I'm blanking when he did. Is it much ado?
He did a Shakespeare one?
Yeah, there was a Brenna Shakespeare that Denzel Washington was the lead, and Keanu Reeves is also in it. I'm blanking on which play it was now. Anyway,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
okay.
it was a colorblind. It was colorblind casting, and it was the '90s, so everybody went. But I loved it here of just, at least against trope of just cool. Like, let's just have Jackson be a black kid and not say anything about this. This is one of the things I think TV does wonderfully, which is normalize stuff that you didn't realize was still a bias in your head, and just push against that trope image you don't realize you're expecting a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, we kind of made that joke while watching it about the best friend, Eric, how it's like he kept giving terrible advice to Otis. They're just like
in the beginning half, he's like, you expect him to be the mystical, like Les said, black or gay friend, and except that he actually gives horrible advice to Otis a lot.
To the point where we're like, do they cancel each other out?
I mean,
can you not be both?
Because he basically entices Otis to like do all the things he really shouldn't be doing, but yet it kind of brings Otis out of his shell too. So it's actually ultimately for a greater good. And I think that's what I liked about Jackson too. I'm going to call him Letter Jackson now. I liked that when I saw him, I'm like, okay, he'll be with Maeve, but obviously Otis. We want Otis and Maeve together, so it'll turn out that he's not as good of a guy, or he's kind of bad for her, or whatever. And it actually turns out like no, Jackson is actually kind of good for Maeve. Yeah. It actually brings out a lot of stuff for her, and makes has her mature and actually do a lot of stuff. But it actually turns out the more we go on, I'm like, oh wait a minute. Maeve is the one that's not very good for Jackson.
I don't even know if that's necessarily true, because like they're both doing actually pretty good things for each other by kind of playing on the other side of the fence, being like, they both kind of realize that everyone has problems through each other.
Right. But like what I'm saying about her being bad for him, it's not exactly like the relationship is bad or toxic in any way. It's just the fact that he is at a point in his life where like he is at a point in his life where this could do the like most damage to him and the rest of his future. And yeah, like her being not communicating with him enough is just not working.
Right.
Like he's not Otis. He can't deal with this. He can't talk with her openly like Otis can, and he can't like guess what's wrong. Like he's
not
just,
a sex therapist.
He's just Jackson is many things. He's not that intuitive, He's not, but he's not.
Well, he needed Otis's help just to get with
the date. Yeah.
Yeah. And he genuinely likes her, probably because she was, one of the only girls to ever say no and is unobtainable, that sort of thing. But I also think he genuinely likes her as a person.
That's a reason to get, that's a reason to have sex with someone, not to start a relationship with them.
But no, I believe he legitimately likes her, but honestly, like, their relationship is too chaotic and bumpy for him right now.
Yeah.
Like he can't.
Good for him when it's early on in terms of she's the first person that pops that bubble for him or shows him that he's living in that Jon Hamm 30 Rock bubble, and to his credit, when he realizes he's in a bubble, it entices him and he gets curious about it and wants to pursue her because he wants to see what life is like outside the bubble. But like you said, he's at a formative point in his life where like, dude, you cannot abandon this bubble right now. Like, this is not the moment in your life to take a month-long pause and go sleep in a trailer with your girlfriend.
Right. Well, that's college thing.
Yeah, like it's
do that after you blow your knee out or some shit.
Right.
Like yes, your mom is overbearing. Yes, she should be more like supportive of you and not put so much pressure on you. That's all true. But also, you have a shot at being an Olympic swim athlete. Like you're. It's just like this is like years of your life. This is basically all you've been leading up to.
Yeah.
And I think he genuinely likes it. I don't think he's
It seems to be.
I think
In
he
a narrow
genuinely
window of opportunity.
Yeah, and for something like that, for a swimmer or any athlete of any kind, you only have a limited.
You basically have till you're 30.
It's like yes,
that's it.
your timetable for making an effect in that realm is very small, and so I just feel like at the end of it, I was like, I don't like Maeve is not. She doesn't change enough she changes a little bit, but she's not open enough with him by the end of it to really make that relationship function where he needs to focus on one thing or the other in order to make one of them work.
Well, see, the problem is that by the time the first season ends, they're both would probably for the best that they take a break and focus on themselves and then maybe get back together later.
Right. But, I mean, it doesn't exactly go like that. But I also I really liked Asa Butterfield as Otis. I liked Ola, his neighbor. I think, or were they neighbors, or was it just?
No, I don't think they were neighbors.
Oh, she was the handyman's daughter.
Yeah, she has a truck, and apparently whatever Magic Island they're on is small enough to walk in a day, like Moonrise Kingdom style.
Yeah, I still don't get that, but I really like Ola. She has this really fun sense of humor. Of like kind of dark and like sarcastic and just kind of fun. Also, introducing a thing I'm seeing more often nowadays, which in the prom was women in suits and tuxedos, which I approve of.
Yes, I will go with all this
Because I don't know if I will ask you this as well, Les. Is this just me, or are suits like objectively sexy? Like no matter who they're on. Because, like...
No, they just look sharp. Like, I think Ruby Rose has proven definitively for all time that, like...
Right, we just watched John Wick 2, and, like, they look good. Like, they look, like, sleek, and they give, like...
well-cut suit looks great on anyone.
Like, well, yeah, and it's a tailored cut, and, like, it accentuates the right parts of you. I don't know. I just think that everyone was making a big deal about Maeve at the party, like, oh, look at her dress or whatever. I'm like, yeah, she looks pretty and everything, but I thought Ola was rocking the tuxedo, and I thought no one was giving her credit on it. I don't know, maybe it was just me.
A house cat?
A house cat.
Oh, wow, that was a fuck up.
Oh, please quit shoving your foot down your throat, man, stop it.
We get it, you don't have a gag reflex, you can stop proving it.
You've got to be up to your shin, man, just stop eating your own foot.
Yeah, it's just, that was terrible to watch. That was like watching a slow, like, death, like a slow car wreck, like, oh no, this is gonna go horribly for you.
I did say that, like... explain it to his friend, and Eric's like, so she's the house cat? Like, yeah, see, everybody else gets it, dude.
It's like, don't laugh, okay, and then immediately laughs.
Yeah, he laughs. Come on, man.
Well, I will say that, like, I think every character in the show learned some lesson, except for the fucking principal. Because, oh my god, is he a dick.
He turned into, like, a super villain by the end of this.
Such a dick. I mean, I get that your kid has not been, like, super... he's disappointed in his kid, and I hear that. It doesn't help his cause. Like, it just makes him more
but maybe your kids like this because you're an asshole.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, ugh.
Oh, it's so
like,
bad.
It's weird how bad you feel for the bully in this show.
Yeah, because the bully is the principal's son.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, jeez, I really do
God,
feel...
when they're dressed exactly the same, and he knows his kids cheated on the paper, and like, it's...
Well, do you notice where he fucks up, too? Is that, like, the person he's bullying comes to the prom, and then has that conversation with the dad, and then right after that, he comes up like, oh, what, I forget, he says something shitty to him. I forget what it was. But, like, I saw you, you're afraid of your dad. That's sad.
Yeah.
And, like, walks off.
And
it's like, oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was...
and brilliant at the same time. Like, that one of
like, can we call it cops? Because we just witnessed a murder.
It's like, you're the person you have towered over for who knows how many years of their lives feels pity for you.
Yeah.
Man.
There's nothing you can do about that. There's no coming back from that.
I've never seen it. I don't think I've rarely ever seen a show make such a believable, sympathetic turn for a bully without me feeling like that's a
shoehorn,
cheap shot, victim blaming bullshit. Like you're trying to have it both ways. I didn't feel like they were trying to have it both ways. I felt like Eric genuinely was really in a moment of realizing what he had, realizing the special relationship he had with his dad, and like holding that
Right.
specialness, and turned and went, "Oh man, you've never had this."
They
That's
use the
sad as
emotional
fuck.
high of one moment to accentuate the emotional
Yes,
low of
it-
another
and it wouldn't
character.
have. I mean, except him turning and seeing like that guy's as low as I am high right now, and has never like looking at that relationship. Like, you know that they've never. It's not like they had these moments and lost it. Like, there's never been this love
They
there.
just never had
It
it.
never happened.
That just
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh, it's
you know,
just
the only thing you-
brutal.
When someone makes you have that realization, you realize you're a little slow. There's only one thing you can do right now.
Give
You
him a
gotta kiss
blowjob.
him.
You gotta kiss him. I suppose one could take that lesson from this, Travis.
Well,
I'm not sure I would, but
someone did.
I guess.
Tromboner's life rules.
But yeah, actually, you know, the mom was like, you know, Gillian Anderson playing Otis's mom was like, you know, like I thought legitimately they were gonna have a, you know, like okay, she'll be kind of annoying and overbearing, but they'll have like a reconciliation by the, you know, the end point here.
No, she's
There's the
still got a
point
lot.
where there's the point where Otis finds the book
The book.
that she's writing.
Jesus Christ.
And I was
gives
like,
her notes.
oh yeah,
That was great.
his passive aggressive there was so choice.
Well, it's funny too because we mentioned like how like emotionally intelligent Otis is, and unless it comes to his mother, what he resorts to basically a 15-year-old kid.
Yes.
Well, it's like when he's like, I want you to count to 10 notice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get the fuck out. Like,
Oh,
Well, that's the main
Man,
problem.
yeah,
His
like, no,
mother
I know
treats
this
him
game.
like a patient.
yeah, and it's like,
Yes.
no. I get to be mad about this. I get to be very mad about this. Like,
Because I'm
Yeah.
your son, not your patient.
yeah. And she doesn't get it. Like, oh, I'll change your name. Obviously, like that's not the point. That is so not the point. You're missing everything.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that fight because it's like it was right at a point where Otis was kind of fucking up too, and we needed to kind of get back on Otis's side. And like that immediately put me back on in Otis's corner, and I was like, "Oh man, what a shitty thing for a parental figure to do! Like just a violation of trust." You know what I mean? Like,
Seriously, the strength of the pacing of the emotional arcs across these episodes and across the series, so that across the season as a whole, it builds and balances and has this push and pull. They always seem like accurately aware of how much goodwill and highs and like emotional punch they've banked that they can spend on the next moment. Like I've rarely had, part of why I binged it so fast. I've rarely had a show. I think it's part of why it reminded me of End of the Fucking World. I've rarely had a show balance so perfectly where I got to the end of each episode and went next, next. Or is that
No,
it? Fuck.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you. We powered through it in like
Yeah.
2 sittings. We loved it. It's not. And you're right. It's not about even what things happen. It's about when they happen.
Who they
to.
happen to.
And who they happen to, and like I love the fact that Maeve's whole storyline is basically. Like, I like that Otis basically. It's not an Otis pining for Maeve the entire time. Like he basically accepts like, okay, she's with Jackson. He's actually a good guy. I'm a third wheel in this. And no matter what my feelings are, I need to extricate myself from this.
Yep.
And
And it's not even so like it doesn't stop him from having feelings for her. He just
Sure.
realizes that
well, no, he recognizes that like, okay, it's so fine to have feelings on this, but it would be inappropriate for me to act on them.
Yep.
So like, I just have to, I have to grin and bear it. You know what I mean? And then Maeve basically spends the whole show of like kind of learning like, oh wait, there is someone that I kind of trust and really do feel like I can share stuff with, and she takes way too fucking long to like.
and then gets angry about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, she feels angry in the moment. I get it, but I'm like, yeah, but it's
on you.
It's not his fault for moving on and finding someone else when when you were not unavailable. Like a lot of the parts of relationships are timing, and yours kind of just sucks. So like. And I know, like, in season 2, it's all set up for them to probably get back together.
Yeah.
The shoe is on the other foot now. It's Maeve, the one looking in on a relationship and all that. So that's probably what season 2 is going to be all about. But I really do legitimately like Ola and Otis.
No,
together.
they're pretty good together.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
think-
I don't want them
I
out
think-
of the way so that it can be a Maeve. Like, I almost want the Maeve thing to fizzle out, but I'm torn.
And
like,
for them to be just friends.
Yeah.
I would kind of like that too. Because I like the dynamic where everyone is at now.
And the
I even
show-
love how Ola ends with him where Otis finally finishes his arc, if you will. Which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that that's the end scene. I love it. I'm sorry, Les, you were saying something?
Oh, yeah, I want to see. I feel like the show could believably. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up just friends with Maeve. Like if they do a season long, will they, won't they? Where the mature choice is to stay friends. And like I can see this show actually being like, yeah, no, we are bad together. We should not date. Love you though.
Right.
Like,
or even not so much that they're bad together,
we're better with others, or yeah.
Or
like, I could see the show.
We
doing
missed our
that.
shot. We missed our window. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
I also want to talk. The soundtrack is spectacular. They do a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a lot of psychedelic furs and Aha and The Cure and
well, there's a
80s,
whole
90s stuff.
There's a whole tribute to basically Hedwig and the Angry Inch that they do.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
But it's Ezra Furman is the person that does most of the original songs. Like, there's actually a ton of original songs that I had to look up. Like, that's not an 80s song. What is that from? And he is, or they, I should say, I believe their pronoun is they. Furman's band and Furman are the prom band on stage.
Okay.
Oh, they're in the prom scene.
Yeah, so they're the actual
that's really
prom
cool.
band. But the soundtrack on Spotify, those original songs are shocking. Like, they fit so they had to be hard to do. They fit so perfectly on such an 80s 90s mixtape soundtrack that I'm surprised that they don't just stand out like, just stick out like a sore thumb. But they really work. And there are a lot of the end credit songs, I think, are Furman. But yeah, I was so impressed with the soundtrack. Really, everything about this show is just, I feel like if you've ever liked a teen comedy and have any concern about consent and respect.
Well, that's what I feel like.
For you.
It's not like I'm like, man, I do want to watch an old 80s horror movie, but wouldn't it be great if no woman was objectified in it? And then I'm like, oh wait, Stranger Things is a thing.
That's a thing.
Like, yay!
Yeah, you just have to not do that, not pay attention to the characters in real life then.
I think it's hysterical that all my life, like every year there's been somebody in some genre that has said like, well, this is all played out. Is it all just going to be, remakes at the same level? Like, well, hey, if it turns out that like there's a thread through almost every piece of media from my childhood that is disrespectful and kind of beyond the pale now. And like, and it's not a matter of like cutting out certain words or like making sure nobody says the R word or something, it's not that. It's down to the plots. Like you can, what if we make slasher films where it's not, always just like this slutty counselor lures guy to the woods and they both get killed. Like, what if that's just not it? We can flip all of these. Sex Ed, I feel like, really proved that you could do this funny in a fully thought through and respectful. Like, it's not a snide like this is why it can't work, and that's where the humor comes from. Like, harkening back to our Snyder discussion at the start of this, like, this isn't somebody who saw a bunch of those 80s teen sex romps and realized that they don't work in 2019 and decided to make a show about how everybody wants those, but they won't work now. In like a snarky, well, kids are still having sex. What are you going to do about it with your stupid timeout millennial bullshit? Like, that could have very easily been this show. But instead the tone is kind of from the kids' point of view of like, no, kids are still having sex and the world is concerned about respect for your peers, both at the same time.
Right.
It's like if John Hughes made a TV show today. You know? Like it's just that level of like, oh, I get the old feeling of like teenage comedy and stuff, but sex comedy, but I don't have the ickiness all involved in it.
Yeah, because rewatching Pretty in Pink
nice.
and shit's hard now. Like even the ones that aren't flat out sex crimes like Revenge of the Nerds. Pretty in Pink is not cool. 16 Candles is rapey or sexual assaulty. I mean, yeah, the whole drunk, passed out, panty stealing freshman, was I good? That whole scene with Anthony Michael Hall is not cool now in 16 Candles. Like, all of these movies have a thread of like, oh man, and can be, apparently I can prove it. I can show you on Netflix where this can be done beautifully to a impeccable standard. Sex Ed is phenomenal.
I should say, like, yeah, we've been gushing all over it. Is there anything you didn't like less? Is there anything that stuck in your craw a little bit?
Honestly, no. I fucking love this show.
I see. That's where I'm struggling too. I'm like, there's got to be something that I'm trying to remember.
The principal's cartoonily villainous sometimes.
No, I don't know.
I like him like that though.
Yeah.
I like that he's such a fucking asshole.
I would want the mom to be
because that reminds me of a John Hughes movie. Fine.
Like, yeah, I even the characters I don't like, the mom's like, my frustration with the mom. She's not too much of a villain foil. Her growth is just slower than the kids, which I kind of like how that tracks. That the kids are more willing to be like, oh, I should give that up. And she's a little more stuck in her, I'm smart enough to be me. Yeah, I'm sure if I rewatched it, I could start to pick some things apart, but honestly, on first blush, it is fucking awesome. I want there to be a season 2 at the same time. I almost don't want to touch it. Like you've made a perfect sandcastle, or like, just don't touch it. Or House of Cards,
See, I actually want to see more of this show, which is weird because I feel the same way you do about End of the Fucking World.
I want a season 2 of this more than I want a season 2 of End of the Fucking World. End of the Fucking World, I kind of like the, did they make it? Did they not, cut to black on the gunshot ending? That was pretty awesome.
It feels apropos of the tone of that show of like, okay, like it's dark, but like you can kind of maybe will yourself into believing there's a silver lining at the end,
End of the Fucking World Part 2 just sounds funny. Like, that just, no, but didn't the world end? Like,
wait, so the world didn't end in the first one?
Right? It's Final Fantasy. Give it up.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 13. What?
13-3.
Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah, so I am more interested in a season 2 of Sex Ed because, like you said, they do set it up nicely to have some characters kind of flip roles, and I'm eager to see how the same or similar circumstances play out because the characters' individual personalities are so well defined. I want to see how Otis deals with some Maeve bullshit and how Maeve deals with some Otis bullshit. And also, I will watch Eric do anything. Dude is awesome.
Also, one of my favorite moments, parody moments of I'm Spartacus that I've seen in quite recent memory. That's my vagina. That's my vagina. That's my vagina. Well, it can't be.
It can't be all your vaginas.
It can't be all your vaginas.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yep.
That's my vagina. Well, actually, that one it is, actually.
Actually, that is. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, and the girl that's like so weirded out by what it looked like. All of these things are embarrassing and real. Like,
yeah.
Is this normal? I don't know. I've never seen anybody else's. Like, who do you ask?
Also, I'm just kind of disappointed, though, because, like, we probably won't see much of Adam in the next season, though.
Well, I mean, you could always run away from military school. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they've got to deal with that. Like,
he's such a big part of the first season. I can't imagine not having him back.
Yeah, I want to see him like Sean Astin, Toy Soldiers, way out of this. Like,
like I don't know how they'd write him back, but I feel like he should come back. You know what I mean? Like, I like it. He's my Steve for this one.
Oh man, yeah.
Where I'm like, Steve's a dick, but then by the end of like season 2 of Stranger Things, like Steve is my favorite character.
Stranger Things without Steve, like there's got to be a certain level of Steve in this, or I won't. Like, yeah. And at the start of season 1, I'd have been like, please kill him, please let a monster kill him. And by the end of season 1, I was like, Steve. And by the end of season 2, I'm definitely Team Steve.
I really want to see him come back. The character, the way he was growing, his arc, where he was at, was very interesting. I want to see that play out more and where it goes. Like, it's cool because like it wraps up and it feels satisfying. Like if it didn't get another season, I wouldn't be super upset.
Yeah.
But also there's enough there to definitely play with more stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And I don't know. I was very happy. I also can't really think of anything that I majorly disliked about the show. I just thought it was fucking awesome, and I'm glad I got to talk about it with you guys. So thank you very much for that. Les, would you like to tell the people where they can find you online and all your different crazy projects and stuff?
Can check me out at thegooddieyountv.com. I'm also over at thetvdudes.com. I am on an absolutely obscene amount of various Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, I feel like. And I was all over your Stand Against Evil podcast. So yeah, I'm just all over the nets.
Oh, for sure. You're also over on the Screener Squad every once in a while, right?
Ah, that's right. Yes. I believe Justin and I reviewed I Am the Night.
How was that, by the way?
Not
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
frustrating. Frustrating, actually. Yeah. There was so much good about it, and yet not compelling. It's really... we talked for a while about it, actually.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely go check that out, and as well as Travis's and mine new podcasting project that we're on with Justin, as well. Final Days of Gotham. I wanted to call it Gotham so bad. I was like, it's not what it's called, Nick. But
what we call it.
There's only 2 episodes left of that one, I think, but they're spaced out over the next couple of months or whatever. So plenty of time to catch up.
A month till the next one. Which is
yeah. So there's plenty of time to catch up. You'd also follow us on our Yu-Gi-Oh! Unapologetic Geek Out, feed on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as Netflix and Kill, our killer movie review podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, wherever.
All the jazz.
Wherever you can find good podcasts. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next week, we are Unapologetic Geek Out, and we're out.